What up everyone, it's your boy back at it again, and I guess I talk about anime now. It's no secret that Boku no Hero Academia is one of the hottest shows out there right now, and its upcoming season is one of the most anticipated in recent memory when it comes to the anime genre. The only downside with this is that the main character of Deku has a few problems with him that I think people are overlooking a little bit too much. Quick preface, Boku no Hero is actually one of my favorite shows out right now, and I'm highly anticipating the next season, so I am not just here to hate on this. This is a show that I love. Also, a quick point of order, anything in the manga I'm not going to be going over because, like pretty much everyone else, I don't read the manga. I am a casual. While there are a lot of problems with Deku, they're actually not really his fault. You might be thinking I'm going to be attacking his personality or what he represents as a character, and that's not going to be the case. I actually find those to be the most interesting and strong assets of his character thus far in the show, and they've been developed pretty effectively thus far. A quick example for that would be his emotional development. The fact that he is slowly gaining more confidence over time and he is finally believing in himself, and the fact that he can grow up to be a great hero has been done wonderfully, and it's been done at a pretty even rate that you would expect with somebody that's gaining more and more victories as time goes on and is understanding their place in the society that they live in. So well done there. I actually believe the problems in his development to come from a narrative aspect and writers implementing things to cover up the fact that they didn't really think out how the timeline of this show was going to be able to work in an interesting and engaging manner. The first thing I would like to bring up is that Deku is not the ideal hero to have this show about if you're going to be trying to tell it at such an accelerated pace. Long story short, his physical development is too quick to be seen as realistic, at least in my opinion. He's jumping through the tiers of the class from being the bottom to being upper middle to now being elite, and the show has only gone through its third season, which would be fine if that wasn't all supposed to be taking a span of a few months up to a year. The show had a very defined tier system when it began amongst the students in Class 1A. You had people like Deku and Mineta that were at the bottom. You had people like Ida or Uraraka that would be in the middle, along with like that dude with the tail, for example. And then you had an upper echelon of characters, which would be Todoroki and Bakugo, who were sort of the prodigies and could run the table with everyone else in the class. This is a great system. Unfortunately, Deku is ruining it single-handedly because he is going through too quickly. He has a quirk that could essentially kill him, and that's a point that they keep on bringing up. And in the beginning, it broke him every time he used it. And over the course of a few short months, not even a full calendar year, he went from breaking himself every time he used it, which kept him at the bottom, to being able to be an upper mid-level combatant. He skipped over a whole bunch of people immediately, even though they still tried to act like he was an underdog the entire time. And now we are approaching this newest season, and he is supposed to be on the same level as these people that have been ahead of him for years and have been perfecting their craft, not just trying to figure out what it is from scratch. Normally, this is a process that would take years, and understandably so. Athletes have to train for a long time to perfect what it is that they're doing, and if they want to catch up to people that are better than them, it takes a lot of hard work and effort. Not that Deku's not putting in hard work, he just realistically would have to be putting in for a lot longer amount of time. But that would not be the best thing to try and make a quick, interesting show about. And that's where shoot style comes in. Shoot style is more or less a plot device that the writers of the show, or the manga I suppose, implemented to make Deku on par with the rest of his classmates without having to have something like a time skip. They wanted it to be the same year, the freshman year, and they wanted him to be realistically able to not break himself anymore. So instead of busting up his arms, his legs are better able to withstand the shock or whatever. But that's just lazy writing. They might as well have had a training montage like in the Rocky movies and have him come out and knock out All Might to take the #1 hero spot. You can't make a jump like that. Doing this takes out a really strong aspect of his character, and it was supposed to be that of the underdog that was trying to overcome the odds. Now, instead, they're bringing in newer, better characters in the power-scaling Dragon Ball Z sense, that they're bringing in Mirio and the other top three, that Deku's supposed to be trying to compete with them now. But those people are supposed to be on a completely different level than the first years. So to make them the new interesting people for Deku to try and have as his rivals, he has to become just as good as the prodigies in Class 1A, if not better, after only having this power for about a year. I personally believe this hamstrings him as a character, which brings me into my second point. Because of this, he is no longer the most compelling character in the show. Now, there are a couple people who I think might be better suited to have a show about them, but I'm only going to really focus on Bakugo for this one because he seems to be the most prominent. There are people that don't seem to find Bakugo relatable because he's a rage monster that does nothing but scream, and he's always been the best in all of his classes growing up. But that's not a bad thing. That's actually a beautiful starting point. Bakugo was a big fish in a small pond. He was better than all the students at his tiny school, and he was better than all the students in his middle school, and because of that they idolized him, and he ate it up with a spoon. He grew up having everyone tell him that he was the best, and he believed it. So imagine the rude awakening he had to deal with when he gets to UA and realizes that not only is he potentially not the best anymore, but he doesn't even stand out compared to some of these people. Now take that and pair it with the fact that all of his classmates are getting closer to him. Not only do you have characters like Todoroki, to where there wasn't really a gap to begin with, but people like Deku, people that were his totem. He knew where he was with Deku from growing up. That was the last semblance of pure, unadulterated power that he had left. And now Deku's on about the same level as him, so he doesn't really know what to do with that information, and it really messes with him psychologically. Then you have to take those two things and put it with the third that I think is the one that really brings them together, in that his quirk doesn't have that much dynamic potential for that of a hero. What I mean by that is when he went to school with the younger kids, he had the best quirk and everyone really wanted it. But now that he's at UA, he could see somebody like Todoroki or potentially an Ida or Uraraka, where their quirks have all of this wild, vast potential, which while it may not be as powerful as his in a fight, can do a lot more to save people or help things that aren't necessarily combative situations. So at the same time, Bakugo is reeling from the fact that he might not be the best anymore, he might not be as great as everybody said he was, he might not even be that well suited as a hero compared to these people, and he's not even as good as he thought he was when he was young. All of this, paired with the fact that he was a bully growing up, really sets him up for the fact that you think, oh, maybe he's going to become the villain, the main rival for Deku. But that's not the case. He wanted to emulate All Might so badly and be the #1 hero the same as everyone else. And people might say it's for more selfish reasons than others, but that's simply not true. Deku wanted to be like All Might for a lot of reasons, but one of the main factors was because people liked All Might, and he wanted to have people look at him the same way. And that's more or less the same reason why everyone wanted to do it, including Bakugo. The scene where the League of Villains kidnap Bakugo and try and turn him into a villain, and his adamant, resounding response that he will never become a villain because even though he has all of his rage and yada yada yada, he's a good person on the inside and he wants to do good by his community. That right there is the moment he became a more dynamic character than Deku. He has both sides of the coin. He has the struggle and he has the will to overcome it. While Deku has both of those things, he is not being given the room to breathe and let it germinate organically. Bakugo doesn't need anything to happen over a long period of time because he's already there. The only thing he needs to rest on is whether or not he gets more temptation to push to the other side. And that's something that you could let happen over seasons. That's something that can be with him until the end of the show if you really want it to. The same can't be said for Deku's physical development and gaining of confidence. And this will bring me into my third and final point. Deku is not the ideal hero for this show and has problems because other characters around him have to get nerfed so that he can seem like he's on the same level as them and so that he can be elevated into the spotlight that he deserves by nature of the show. Characters like Todoroki have taken a back seat in recent seasons of the show to make room for other characters, and that totally makes sense. He's sort of boring even though he's really not, and he doesn't really want the spotlight, so he's not exactly going for it. Perfect. Let him be to the side. The problem is people are treating him like he's not still one of the top combatants and likely going to be the best hero coming out of the end of the show. And look, I know Deku's going to be the #1 hero or whatever, but let's be real. If this were happening right now and they were all like collegiate prospects, nobody would have their money on Todoroki to not go first round. But his powers are insane, and that's why it doesn't make sense. When he got mad in the tournament arc in the second season, he put a glacier into the entire side of a stadium. And now, they'll have a gang of people at the hero license exam who are like, oh, we've got you outnumbered, what are you gonna do about it? And sure, he still beats them because you can't completely make him look like a scrub. But he should have been able to take him out in one move. Just do that ice thing. They're all stuck. He walks out of there instantly. But you can't do that. Because if you do that, everyone else sucks. Deku's no longer on the top level. Hell, even Bakugo is going to look pretty weak compared to that because he can't have that area of effect without killing people. And that seems to be what they want to do for the rest of the show. They're going to keep on putting people into smaller and smaller boxes and make them only work in certain situations so that they need Deku more to handle their business. And that's fine. I totally get it. It makes sense for what they're trying to get out of the show. I'm just saying I think it's going to make the show worse in the long run, and it makes me a little bit worried that it's not going to be one of those long-standing anime like Bleach or Naruto or One Piece. I don't think it's going to go for that long, and I think fans are going to sour on it sooner rather than later if it continues. That being said, I do not want that to happen. Like I said, I love this show, and I really want to see it succeed. I didn't grow up watching anime, and I still don't really know much about it, so I was never able to grow up with Naruto. I never got to see it as it was happening. It's kind of fun for me to be able to say like, oh, this is the new hot thing, and I get to watch it as it's new. So by virtue of that, I really want it to succeed. I'm just a little bit worried it won't sometimes. So that's it. Those are my thoughts on the issues. What did you guys think about it? Go ahead and let me know below. Do you think that they're making mistakes with Deku, or do you think that he is good as gold and that you want to see it happen at this rate for the rest of the show? If you like what you saw here, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Throw your boy a subscribe. Let me know that you appreciated what you saw. And if you didn't like it, I mean, hey man, can't win them all, right? That's going to be it for me. Until next time, you voiders, stay beautiful.